The metagame contenders are ramping up out here as we actually see Sprite and Despia running it back. Don't make the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out. More awesome content. Victoria State out here. What's going on for this top cut? Well, we have triple cash tier in top cut. Okay, Robbie, it's okay, you know. The cash tier players aren't winning. It's not 50% of the top cut for this event. Good stuff, actually. Okay, so overall, I mean, normal. But this is where I personally thought that things were a little bit interesting here. We actually had double Labyrinth in top cut. I don't know where that came from, but the fact that Labyrinth edged out Super Heavy Samurai in top cut representation, I actually quite find that interesting. Especially, you know, Labyrinth being a back row deck. I mean, most of the time we only see one of these in top cut. So to see that variance, you know, kind of do the little flip-flop here is kind of interesting. We also had, oh boy, Super Heavy Samurai making their way to top cut. But what's interesting about this one is this is actually playing in the Vernal Stuff package. So we're kind of adapting some of those ideas that we saw from the OCG in the earlier stages, which actually is kind of cool. I'll take that. Then we had good old Despia out here. Don't you love the fact when the good old Despia can kind of roll it on back into a format, do its thing, and then roll off into the sunset, never to be seen until the next regional. We also had a Sprite deck out here as well. And this is actually not the Adventure Sprite version. We'd actually seen Adventure Sprite kind of taking up a lot more of the spotlight as of late. But the fact you kind of get a little bit of difference here, I think is kind of cool, actually. So overall, your top cut for this event, very, very much what we're used to seeing here. But the shifts in variance across the board is very interesting. Let's pass on over to deck list. Winning your event here was actually Kashtira. I'm not surprised about that. You know, no matter how much variance you actually have present in a format, Kashtira usually is the deck that ends up taking down a lot of your top cut slots. So, I mean, we're on triple droll, triple shifter, and triple gamma here. Standard hand trap inclusion. And of course, I mean, we're relying on talents and thrust to make sure that we can win the game. And, you know, my favorite part about thrusting into the talents is post-side decking here. You laugh at your opponent with maximum kecking, as you're like, hey, you know, I get to board in the dimensional barrier here. And you look at your opponent and you go, hey, a nice purely deck. I'm really glad that, you know, I don't have to worry about anything. That's literally like the biggest advantage tree that you get with this. See that we're also playing the Herald of the Abyss here, and then we get some hand trap coverage because, you know, we some matchups, but not all the time, you know, these don't exactly cover your bases. Also, keep in mind here, we do have some DD Crow action seeing play in here. We've kind of seen DD Crow kind of step back into the limelight here for quite a lot of the format. I mean, you figured people would want to see more bite deals, but no, Crow needs to cover some of those more generic options, and that's what we've been seeing here. So actually, incredibly good stuff for the actual use of that. Next up here, we are actually seeing, hi Sprite, how are you? We have some actual value in here for Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. You know, Ghost Ogre on the Fountain is one of the most disgusting interactions that you can have in the game, especially if you don't, you know, have a Hugin up and running. It makes me, I go to Cryville every single time that actually happens. I also see that we are playing our little Melfi package in here. So we're playing Penny and Caddy here. The ability to make merry Melfis. I also see here, what else we got going on down here? Yeah, Melfies of the Forest, Detached Search. The fact that this thing is entirely generic is quite hilarious. And then, of course, remember, this deck gets to play Dimension Shifter just like Kashtira does. You know, you really got to give a shout out here for how absurd your bases are covered, because like Shifter has become such an amazingly busted card this format. This card right here is just the pinnacle of the format. Like, besides walking, talking Macrocosmo Man, who, you know, is a pain to deal with, this card also alleviates a lot of the other stress that's going on out here. And then, of course, I mean, who isn't going to play an anti-spell this fragrance, this format? Like, this card is really good. And then I see, of course, wow, we're back in time here. We got some MST action down here as well. So, I mean, outside of that, build does feel a little bit more standard. That's just kind of the curse of this deck at this point. Next up here, we have Fallen of Albaz. Hi, Mercurier. Hi, Gold Sarcophagus. Okay, so disclaimer here for how this deck has been going. I have seen some people just trying to play double Mercurier and cut the Gold Sarcophagus, which, don't get me wrong, is interesting. The different lines of play that you kind of get because of your decision-making tree with this is kind of interesting, but this build does kind of rewind us back to the point of, hey, we're doing the Gold Sarcophagus interactions with the Mercurier to get the immediate search. I mean, also, Mercurier is a pretty cute monster, having this act as, you know, value town for protection. And then I do see here, we are pretty hand-trapped out of our mind here. Ghost Ogre's seeing some more play here, and we've opted to actually bring in Nibiru's. Now, this build is not actually having access to Crossout Designator. In the past, we saw Crossout Designator show up in some of these branded lists, and they do allow some pretty interesting plays, but this build just opted to not even go down the path of having that. I'll see that we are playing Triple Book of Eclipse in here as well. To be honest, you kind of do need some option trees to make sure that you can set up and kind of do your thing. In certain situations, I get that, like, Kashtira is, depending on how they set up, it can be a pretty unwinnable matchup. I mean, this build's not even playing super poly, so you can't even attempt to board break, you know, their setup with any of the particulars for that. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at this. I see that we are playing the Shaddoll Dragon down here. Don't perform a PAL 5 Rainbow Magician either. I guess that they really didn't feel that they needed some of the particular assets for that. So interesting to see the choices that this list brought to the table for this event. Next up here, hey, it's Vernal Sif. All right, so first of all, we're feeling daring today. We're playing 41 cards, but the extension of your Vernal Sif package is just 1 Awakening Forest, a Flourishing Hills, and 1 Misting Seedling. That is it in terms of, like, extension fodder that you kind of have going for it, which I think is fine for this. I mean, this little package doesn't hurt you to actually have this built in to the deck. I also see that we are citing Malong here, and of course, boy, I love Gotems. The fact that you can make this in this deck and hand rip your opponent is something else. The Vernal Sif package kind of allows that little extra variance that you really wanted. I'm sure that watching today's video, you really wanted to see that you can hand loop shenanigans your opponent by making haha Gotems out here. That's the stage of the power creep that we've actually kind of seen set in here for this. I mean, this deck gets so many cool little innovations, and every week we've seen this deck kind of do something a little bit more crazy, I feel like. So shout out here to XX Saber's Gotems for actually moving up the innovation chain out here for something really cool. And our last list we actually have here is IKEA. I didn't even know that IKEA existed in Australia, but alright, so what in the world? We're playing a Danger Bigfoot in here? Why? Is it just so we can tune this to our stove here and then make Chaos Angel? That's gotta be the only reason, right? Like, we're feeling that level saucy. We're also playing Simul Archfiends. This turn, neither player can special summon monsters with the same card type, Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Link that they already control. And if you do not control 2 or more monsters of the same type, blah, 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 all Ritual or Link monsters you currently control gain 500 attack. You just care that this is a Floodgate. That's a normal trap card that you can actually set. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting, all real things considered here, and, you know, I'll take that. I like the idea of what they're trying here, honestly. This seems kind of interesting. But overall, that's what we're unpacking out of this event. Lots of little interesting ideas out here, and those tech choices like Gotems, pretty cool. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.